Friends organization that helps to take care of the park. Now the park, which we also welcome you to, has been here since 1946.
Correct.
When the governor at the time, Walter Edge, bought the house and the land around it, and ever since then the park has grown in fits and starts, really. But it extends all the way to Highway 206. From here, the edge of the Institute for Advanced Study Woods. And Highway 206 will feature prominently in the stories you are about to hear, because that's the old Kings Highway. The Princeton Battlefield Society has been in existence not as long as the park, but for 50 years. We started in 1971, so this is our 50th birthday. And as a Friends organization, we have three jobs to do. One is to help maintain the park. Two is to promote expansion of the park and improvement of the facilities. And third, the reason you good people are here today is to tell you what happened here and why it was important. And the people who are going to do that are Larry Kidder, distinguished author, famous historian. I mean, you guys are really lucky to have this. And Will Krakauer, who is the curator for the house. Now, he's not the same Krakauer who wrote about the dangers and risks of climbing Mount Everest, but he does know a lot about the dangers and risks that existed here on the morning of January 3rd, 1777. That was pretty good.
That was good, yeah. Not a distinguished fellow.
But distinguished in many other ways. So because we have a larger group than usual, we're going to start out all together, and you guys are going to kind of take the initial presentation.
I'll start out and
yeah, and then we'll probably split into two groups, right?
Yeah.
And some will follow Larry, and some will follow Will. Now, at the end of the tour, the house will be open, right?
Yep. So everybody will get a chance. How we're going to split the group is half of the group is going to, where we leave off in our joint presentation, is going to follow Larry onto the battlefield and learn the immediate aftermath of what we're about to describe to you. And the other half will follow me out here to the Clark house, where you're going to learn about the family who lived here, who built the house, and the things that occurred inside the house, the reason why the house is still standing. So everybody will have a chance to go inside the house today. But if you felt you didn't get enough time, we will be open until 4 p.m. today, so do feel free to
And
go
when
back.
we split, the group that goes with me first will come back
We'll come
here
back.
and
You're
do
going to rotate.
the other. Well, so we'll just
Rotate.
both groups
Okay.
will get both aspects.
Yeah.
One last logistical thing. We've been doing this for a few years, and what we found is that a lot of the ideas we get for improving it, or for making this better and maybe getting rid of that, comes from the input we get from people like you, and we get that on surveys. Now, no one really wants to write a survey at the end of a tour, but we're really asking you to do that. Normally we would come around and pass these out, but the group is just too big. So we're hoping that you would be willing to come back to the table and fill out one of the surveys. And as an encouragement for you to do that, there are some miniatures over there that are for sale. The big ones are for 25 bucks and the little ones are for 15 bucks, and we will sell them $5 off if you fill out the survey, or someone in your group fills out the survey. Now, is that an enticement or what?
Yeah. They're very cool miniatures.
He's right, because I do them. Okay, take it away.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you for coming today, and hope you enjoy what Will and I are going to present to you. As an historian who visits a lot of historic sites and goes on tours like this, I have a pet peeve. Every historical site represents actions that were the most important in world history. Okay? I want to assure you, I'm not going to say that what happened here was the most important thing in world history. However, because I believe that every day in history is important, okay? History would be different if on any one day something different happened, so they're all important. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 still being important, what happened here is a big 10. All right? Not an 11, a 10. because this battle was at the end of 10 days of extremely important history. The 10 days stretched from December 25th to January 3rd, 76 to 77. On December 25th, most patriots in what was going to become the United States in the 13 colonies really believed the revolution was almost over the wrong way. Remember, it was only a couple of days before that Thomas Paine's The Crisis had been published in Philadelphia. You know, these are the times that try men's souls, etc. You know, it looked like everything was on the edge. The British believed that they were going to win within a couple of months. The Americans were pretty much convinced they were going to lose. By January 3rd, at the end of the battle that took place here, it was the other way around. Okay? The British were now very concerned about winning the revolution. And the patriots were back feeling that, hey, maybe we can do this. It's worth continuing. It's worth, you know, stepping up and getting involved and not just coming back. On November 30th, just before that December, Lord Howe had offered amnesty to the patriots. Anybody who had participated in the revolution up to that point, by simply signing a document coming back to the right side, as he would say, would be forgiven everything that they had done. Everything would just be back to normal. Now, since these guys have been committing treason, that was a pretty good offer. Okay? And to show you just how bad things were, particularly here in New Jersey, people were signing those documents by the thousands. Okay? Keep in mind that after November 30th, the British invaded New Jersey, chasing Washington across the state, or across the state, yeah, at that point. And yeah, it's been about 6 months it had been a state. Across the state, and they occupied the central part of the state with a number of garrisons. One of those was the famous one at Trenton, but there were also garrisons all the way across central New Jersey. So that in effect, by December the 8th, just that short period from November 30th to December the 8th, the British essentially had reconquered New Jersey. The New Jersey state government, 6 months old, no longer was functioning. The delegates to the Congress had split to defend their own life, get out of the way of getting hung. The governor of New Jersey, William Livingston, disappeared. Nobody knew where he was. He probably went over to Pennsylvania with Washington's troops, but we don't know that for sure for a couple of weeks. There's even a letter written to him with no address and with the words, or whoever. Okay? So, the loyalists in New Jersey felt empowered because the British Army was backing them now. And they were happy about that because when the Patriots had taken over control after the Declaration of Independence and everything, they weren't real nice to the Loyalists. Loyalists lost some property. Many of them almost forced to leave the state. Some of them left more voluntarily than others, but a lot of them left. Those that were left behind were in fear of their future existence. But now, in December, they want to get back at those Patriots, and they feel that they can. So have I painted a good picture of just how bad things were before the 10 crucial days? The 10 crucial days then involved the Battle of Trenton, the taking of Trenton from the Hessians. That was just one of those outposts, by the way. It gets all the press for the outposts, but it was just one of them. Then there was a second Battle of Trenton on January the 2nd. Washington had come back. The reason he went back to Pennsylvania, by the way, after the Battle of Trenton, was he had to take his 900 prisoners back over there and get them down to Philadelphia and all of that. So then he came back to Trenton, started fortifying Trenton, actually doing what the Hessian commander should have done before Washington came. He actually set up a defense of Trenton. That battle on the 2nd of January had originated right from here in Princeton. After the Battle of Trenton, the British troops had made Princeton their gathering point for up to about between 8,000 and 10,000 troops.
Wow.
Okay. Think about these poor farmers, like here, having to deal with all of these troops who need wood for cooking and for warmth. Remember, it is December, okay? They need food, so they're going to plunder the farms like this one. It's just really miserable right here in Princeton for that month before the battle here. But these people got to see the British all march down to Trenton on January 2nd. And they thought, okay, that's where the war is moving. And then we're going to come to January 3rd, and we're going to have the battle here that we're going to learn about that is going to completely change people's mindset on these things. Before we go any further, I would encourage you to check out the other sites, historic sites associated with the 10 crucial days, so you can get that full picture of what leads up to here. The 2 state parks, one in Pennsylvania and one in New Jersey, at Washington's Crossing, definitely worth visiting and learning about how they got across, why they crossed at that particular point, and how they got to Trenton, which was 8-9 miles away. And then down in Trenton, the old barracks, which was not exactly the site of the Battle of Trenton, but it was certainly there during the battle, and the fighting was all around it. And they do a great job of interpreting that down at the old barracks. And then also, what we have here. So I would encourage you to visit all of those sites to get the full picture. And now I'm going to turn it over to Will to just add anything before we divide you up.
Oh, sure. Where Larry left us on the evening of January 2nd, 1777, Washington's army, and I'm sure Larry will go into this as well, is their backs are to the Delaware River, and their front is to a small body of water known as the Assunpink Creek. They're well fortified on high ground, overlooking the British, who are steadily coming into town as darkness falls. Washington has a difficult decision to make, whether to stay in Trenton and face the wrath of some 8,000 to 10,000 British soldiers attacking his front and likely his flank, or to leave. And there are a number of things that evening that do help him make that decision. Chief among them is that a few days before, Washington's army was on the verge of collapse. And that is because on the 31st of December, 1776, about 3/4 of the enlistments of the Continental Army were due to go up. So Washington's army was literally about to fall apart under his feet. To convince those men to stay, Washington promises them a $10 bounty and a new pair of shoes for an additional 6 weeks of service. Now, where that money is going to come from is a question that Washington is still trying to answer. However, a rumor has made its way back to the headquarters of the Continental Army that there is a chest in the city of New Brunswick filled with 70,000 pounds sterling silver. Now, that chest and all of the money therein would go a long way in helping to preserve the Continental Army and sponsor their future endeavors. And so with that in mind, among other things, Washington and his subordinate staff, in particular 2 gentlemen, you'll hear a lot about one. The first is Brigadier General Arthur Sinclair, the other is Brigadier General Hugh Mercer, are rather adamant that Washington and his army should continue the Fabian-style tactics they've employed over the last 9 days and attack the British in their rear. As you go forward, put yourself in the shoes of Washington and the upper echelons of command of the Continental Army. Princeton is well garrisoned here. To their knowledge, there's about 2,000 men here. As you're going to learn, there's actually less. But Princeton is the pit stop along the way to their true objective, which is New Brunswick. Keep that in mind as Washington leaves at around midnight from Trenton to snake around the British position and head in this direction, he's on the clock, and he's going to be on the clock as time moves forward. As soon as the sun comes up, the British are going to realize he's not there anymore, and then we're really in trouble. So as we move forward, I think that's a nice and cliffhangery place to leave it.
Yeah.
Right here, everybody on this side, you're going to be group 1. Everybody on that side, you're going to be group 2. Now, pray that your groups know something. Name me one New Jersey signer of the Declaration of Independence. This side.
Richard Stockton.
Okay, this side. No, not from New Jersey. This side wins. Who do you want to go with first?
Jonathan Witherspoon.
That's another one, yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you want to go with, me or Larry? Take a pick. Me?
Yep.
Cool. You guys get Larry first. You guys get the AC first. So you guys can come over here with me. Larry's going to take you that way. We're going to walk around this area. Yes, I'm going to...